Welcome to another story from the In His Footsteps book, read by me, the author, Margaret Agard. And now, here's the story. I'm reading the 8th story from my first book, In His Footsteps. I gave my to-do list to God. It's a long one, so settle in. And it's called Hearing the Spirit, starting on page 23. When I was 23 years old, I heard a person in church talk about her conversations with God. Conversations? I didn't know it was possible. I thought you prayed, got up, went about your day, and things either happened or they didn't. That very day, I went to the Lord and said, I would like to have experiences that help me understand when He was talking with me. It seemed illogical that He could, since if I hadn't been able to understand yet, what could He do different? But you never knew with God. He's accomplished bigger miracles. It doesn't hurt to ask. The day after that prayer, I made a pot of chili that kept getting bigger and bigger. I had this recurring thought that I should invite a particular couple, let's call them the Joneses, to dinner. I kept trying to dismiss it, to argue with it. I thought, they came on Friday. They'll think it's weird to get another invite so soon. Invite them anyway, said the little voice in my head. Tonight's family home evening night. We're only supposed to have family. Invite them to stay for family home evening. Finally, I thought, okay, I'll invite them. I did, and they were pleased. They came and ate, sat through family home evening, which was a lesson and activity on tithing. As the lesson ended, they said, we haven't paid our tithing in a while. We were committed to paying all we owed. For various reasons, our paycheck was short, and we had exactly enough money come in on Saturday to pay only our tithing. We're about out of food, and we would have no food money. We spent all Saturday deciding what to do. On Sunday, we handed in our check to pay our full tithing and trusted in the Lord to provide. By the end of church on Sunday, we had invitations to dinner every night except tonight. Then, this morning, you called. I had 3 more experiences like that in a week. Every time I argued with the thought, every time when I finally listened and acted, I discovered that people had been praying for that exact thing. I cannot describe the joy I felt being an instrument in the Lord's hand, helping people's faith to grow. From that, I learned to recognize the Lord's prompting. It is a still small voice, no more than a thought. I learned that if I'm arguing with the thought and it keeps coming back, it's Him. I don't argue with myself. I learned we are often each other's answers to prayers. I understand now why we are told that the Lord will hold us accountable for the good we might have done had we done our duty. I've learned that if I'm praying and thinking about a concern, certain scriptures jump out at me. That's the Spirit. But I have to be reading the scriptures. Other times, as I write in my journal about my questions, certain thoughts come to me. As I write them, I recognize them as being of the Lord, but I have to be writing in my journal. And the most wonderful gift of all is to be able to pray with my husband until we come to a unity of the Spirit, for then I am assured this is of the Lord. Whenever I ignore the voice, I regret it. The Lord wants to bless me and to bless others through me. I frequently make it impossible for Him to do that, especially when it doesn't look like a blessing at first. Once I learned to recognize the Spirit, I had to learn to truly trust God and act on the promptings, because often it is after the show of faith that the blessings come. In fact, sometimes it feels as if God has led me into a worse situation. Like the ancient Israelites, I miss Egypt. For example, one time I sensed a year in advance that I was going to get a job offer and that I should take it and move to a city 2,000 miles away from our current home. 3 of the children were in high school and very happy where we were living. Michael was finishing his black belt in karate and loved his class and his friends. We spent a year praying about it as a family and preparing. The first year after the move was horrible. The 3 older children struggled the most. Elizabeth did not come out of her room for a year except to go to school. Michael was so angry he failed all of his classes or came close to it while scoring 1,400 on the SATs. Christian had emotional scars that he worked for years to overcome. The only thing that kept us from moving back was the knowledge that this was of the Lord and the growing pains would be worth it. Then, suddenly, the worst was over. New friends, new experiences, new attitudes brought happiness. As a bonus, I had the gift of visiting my father often during the last 6 months before he died, as we now lived less than an hour away rather than 2,000 miles away. I sat next to him with my brothers and sisters as he drew his last breaths. As painful as it was, it would have been more painful to not be there. I learned from these experiences that the longer the notice is that the Lord gives me for an impending change, and the stronger the prompting, the harder it is going to be. But the joy is always as great as the pain. I think he gives me that extra time and prompting as a blessing so that I can be assured I am on the right path when all seems to my limited view to be going wrong. The first step is learning to recognize that spiritual prompting and then trusting enough to act on it. The more I act, the more my trust or faith grows, but it's still a struggle.